2nd, the big banks are going to display their earnings. And the third quarter was a strong quarter. And what do you think the fourth and last quarter will be? Well, welcome back to another episode of Between Dollars to Dreams. Well, last week was Black Friday, and we're all spent out of all the various so-called discounts. And now looks like we're on the verge of having to pay the piper. One of the news items that I'm seeing is that non-mortgage debt, right? Like your credit card debt, personal debt, has increased. And now our credit card balances have increased to about $4,600. So we're seeing, the emergence, the increase of debt. And what that could potentially do is lead to more bankruptcies. So spend, but spend wisely. Be careful. Have a budget. Stick to your budget, because come 2026, those high debt levels will have to be paid somehow. But there's some good news. There are some good news. Well, those high debt payments, who's going to benefit from those high credit card payments? You guessed it. The big banks. And starting this week, December 2nd, the big banks are going to display their earnings. And the third quarter was a strong quarter. And what do you think the fourth and last quarter will be? Well, I have a feeling it's going to be just as strong. So if you can't beat them, buy them. So if you want to buy, a good investment, a Canadian dividend fund, or just basically buy one of the big five banks. What else is doing well? Well, the stock market continues to go up. The TSX, the Dow, the Nasdaq, on average, this past week, it's gone up about anywhere between 2 to 4%. And it's trending to have a positive year once again. So having a well-diversified portfolio would have done you justice for this particular year. What else is in the news? Well, this pipeline thing. People are asking, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? BC, is BC and our native, Indigenous people, they're going to go for it? Well, here's what we know. We know that the Liberal government has got an MOU, a memo of understanding with the Alberta government about the potential to build a pipeline across BC. Now, there's a whole bunch of environmental issues that needs to be worked out, but that's the first step. The good first step is now we've got the federal government and the provinces talking to each other and understanding their particular issues and looking at a pathway to get oil from Alberta to the West Coast to be exported to various Asian and African countries. Now, the only roadblock is that you've got this big province called BC that kind of stands in the way. So, I mean, at this moment, I'm just hoping that they could find a way to negotiate a safe way to transport the oil from the Alberta tar sands all the way to the West Coast. So they've got a memo of understanding. It doesn't mean that oil is going to start going from Alberta to BC. There's plenty of time to hash out those issues. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Well, it all depends on which side of the fence that you sit. Hopefully they could find a way to negotiate something that's good for the environment, good for the people of BC, good for our Indigenous people, and ultimately good for the economy. in the meanwhile, don't think that anything is going to start flowing anytime soon. So at the moment, the big money backers, the Enbridge Gas, the Stobo companies, they're not backing this up at this moment because there's so much risk involved. So probably if you were thinking that oil prices and oil stocks were going to increase tremendously as a result of that, you may want to slow down and put a pause to it. So what's to learn from all this? A lot of volatility, still a great deal of uncertainty. We're kind of seeing things are kind of plateauing. Inflation is kind of stable. Unemployment has, been kind of leveled off. But what does 2026 hold for us, right? I think there's so many different factors out there that's playing in the hinterlands that we probably need to have a plan in place just in case things go south. We know our auto industry will be under attack from the U.S. So we're getting a lot of questions on various polls that we get as to how can I buffer myself if I lose my job. So probably number one, have a plan, have an emergency fund, have the right type of protection. We'll be talking about this in future episodes, so you probably want to tune in. But for now, hopefully, if you have family like me in the U.S. that was past the U.S. Thanksgiving, so you're all turkeyed out and you're all Black Friday'd out. Now it's time to pay the piper. Look at your credit card bill and start paying your credit cards down. Hope you've enjoyed our news items for the week. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again next week for another Between Dollars to Dreams episode.